And the book we were reading in the book club was The Desire for God by David Baddiel. Now I have to say, and I'm not patronising those in the book club, that the level of the discussion far exceeded the opinions of the book's authors. Let me put that another way. The book underwhelmed most of us, and that was with no prompting from each other. Each person explained why they felt it never rose to what it was exclaiming to do, the desire for God. Maybe, and this opinion was expressed, that the author had a fixation on an old-fashioned idea of how he imagined many religious people or people of faith understood God. So if you have that preconceived idea of what the desire for God is, and you're thinking that's what other people have, then that's not a good premises to start from. And that's what many of us felt that David Baddiel had done. Words are signs. In some languages, words are symbols. Symbols to explain something. Some are easy to understand. If you're learning the English language, for instance, the word chair. We know what a chair is, and you've only to point at a chair and say the word chair, and that's a chair. However, it might get a little bit difficult when somebody refers to another person as the chair. That's when it becomes a bit confusing. Such as at a meeting, and somebody says, "Chair, I'd like to raise an issue." And people who are only learning English for the first time look at a chair in the room and think, why is he talking to the chair? However, words as signs and symbols sometimes become opaque, abstract, or difficult even to explain, particularly when we use the word God, when we use the word love, when we use the word forgiveness. So we know what a chair is, we know what a table is, we know what a life is, but how do we explain what a God is? How do we explain what love is? And how do we explain what forgiveness is? Now, usually we rely on poets to do justice to those words. At the book club, someone said they could not call themselves an atheist, as David Baddiel referred to himself, an atheist with a desire for God. They said they could not call themselves an atheist, and I hope I'm quoting them correctly, because it was a negative, and they could not define themselves as a negative. And I thought that was a profoundly interesting point, to define yourself as a negative. When you hear someone saying, "I don't believe in God," well, that's different. And it's very different from hearing someone saying, "I don't believe that God exists." "I don't believe in God" is very, very different from "I don't believe in God exists." "I don't believe in God" is not a challenge to the existence of God. It's saying that you as a person don't believe in God. Maybe that is an agnostic's position, whereas "I don't believe that God exists" is very much an atheist position. What response would you get to the question, are you emphatic that God does not exist? Many's the time somebody might say to you, "I don't believe in God." And if you ask them, "Are you emphatic that God doesn't exist?" I think you more than likely will get a different answer. So it's worth a try to see, does somebody follow up I don't believe in God with I don't believe that God exists. Because you don't believe in God does not negate the existence of God. No more, by the way, than a proclamation that I believe in God, proves that God exists. So whichever position you take doesn't prove the existence or the non-existence of what we call God. But then we're right back, you see, to the meaning of the word. What its sign means, of what we are talking about. Because fundamentally, if we all have a different idea of what we're talking about when we talk about God, then it's a very difficult question, or maybe it's better not to put that question to another person. Do you believe in God? I remember in school, we used to nudge each other in religious knowledge class and see who would dare to ask the teaching brother, teaching religious knowledge, the following question. If God is so powerful, can he make a rock that he can't lift himself? Now, finally, one young lad worked up the courage and put his hand up and said, Father, I have a question to ask. If God is so powerful, can he make a rock that he can't lift himself? Now, he got an extraordinary theological response. His feet didn't touch the ground as he was removed from the class. And we could hear him screaming for his mother in the corridor. So that was the answer he got. Now, how clever was that? It wasn't too clever in his experience. Because if there existed a God who was all-powerful, well, he or she, of course, could make a rock that he or she could not lift. But we wouldn't understand that through a glass darkly. So the desire for God is dependent on what you imagine is the object of your desire. What is the object of your desire when you desire for God? If I desire a holiday, I have a good idea of what I know I want. You can easily imagine what type of holiday would appeal to you. If you desire love, even though it's a difficult word to explain, like the word God, but if you desire love, you could imagine who should be the object of that love. So the love is portrayed in the form of another person that you desire. And if they are responsive to your romantic protestations, well, then the desire is fulfilled. So it's a lot easier, well, maybe not all the time, but it's a lot easier than desiring God. But the desire for God can be understood in many ways. And one of these ways is a line from the Bible itself, that the desire for God is written in the hearts of every man and every woman. That the desire for God is already there. Whatever you imagine God to be, that desire is written in your heart. However, there is the other aspect, which is practice and belief, which is perceived as a journey on the road of desire to God, for God. What does God desire of me can easily be answered: to love your neighbor. Or if it is purely that you believe and that is enough, that I submit myself to the belief that there is a God, and I submit myself to the church's theology and orthodoxy, then that is enough. I am saved. I don't necessarily, well, I don't subscribe. Be honest with you. I'm totally honest with you. I don't subscribe to that at all. Oh, it doesn't upset you, but I don't. And that would be an orthodox position over orthopraxy. Orthopraxy, which is the right action, is as important as religious faith. So for me, the desire for God is fulfilled by imagining what that God might want me to do. And I try to do it to the best of my ability, failing miserably a lot of the time. But that is how I see my way of fulfilling that desire. And that desire, whichever way you want to approach it, that choice is yours. And it's yours individually to make in order to fulfill what you might imagine is your desire for God. Amen.